All right, today we're going to go on with zero and negative exponents, which we have already learned, but we're actually going to have a full lesson on it. So the first thing we need to know is anything to the power of 0 is 1. So separate your box like this and up. That'll work. All right, so a to the 0 power is what? 1. 3 to the 0 power is 1. Y plus 2, and then outside of the parentheses to the 0 power is 1. Okay, and then the next thing that we kind of already learned, but we're going to look at it, is the negative exponent. If you have a base with a negative exponent, it's not proper to write it like that. So what you have to do is put it at the bottom of a fraction, and if there's nothing to put on top, simply put a 1. Okay, so how would you do 3 to the negative 2? 1 over 3 squared, which is the same thing as 1/9, yes or no? Because 3 squared is 9. Okay, now let's talk about what if they give you a problem, and in the problem there's a negative exponent on the bottom of a fraction. For example, what if they gave you a fraction with 1 over a to the negative n? Does anybody have an idea? That's kind of like having a double negative. So what would I do? Bring it back to the top and make it positive, okay? So this is the same thing as a to the positive n. Huh? Okay, so what if I have 1 over 8 to the negative 5th, and I don't want a negative in my answer, but that's what I got. So it would be 8 to the 5th. You just bring it back to the top and take the negative off. All right, let's go do some examples. Solve using positive exponents. So what would this answer be? 1 over 3 to the 6. Or could I actually solve 3 to the 6? Yeah, so it would be 1 over 729. Because I did it already. I don't know that. All right, negative 7 to the 0. What's my answer? 1. Okay, what did we learn yesterday about when you have a power of a quotient? This exponent has to go to both, yes? So this negative 2 has to go to the 1, so I have 1 to the negative 2. What else does it have to go to? 5 to the negative 2. Can I have negative exponents in my answer? No. So only look at one thing at a time so you don't confuse yourself. If I had 1 to the negative 2, how would I make that proper? Move it to the bottom. Okay, now look at this one. If I have 1 over 5 to the negative 2, I would move it to the top. So they're basically just going to switch spots. So I would have 5 squared on top and 1 squared on bottom. What's 5 squared divided by 1 squared? 25. It's just 25 divided by 1. So I could also write my answer like that. Are we okay? All right, try this one on your own. Did everybody at least get that far? Okay, now what are we going to do? Basically flip their spots so that we don't have any negative exponents. So I would have 3 to the 3rd over 2 to the 3rd. That is a correct answer, but you could also expand that since the exponent is only a 3. It's not a huge answer. 3 to the third is 27, and 2 to the third is 8. And so both of those answers would be seen as correct.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. All right, moving on. 0 to the negative fifth. Can you have a negative exponent? Can you have a negative exponent? No, it has to go to the bottom of a fraction, yes? So I have 1 over 0 to the fifth. What's 0 times 0 times 0 times 0 times 0?
0.
So I have 1 over 0. Now let's talk about that. Can you have a fraction with 0 as a denominator?
Just 1. Wait, no.
You cannot, no, you can never have a fraction with a denominator of 0. Try it in your calculator. It's going to give you an error. Watch what happens. So 1 divided by 0, it says you cannot divide by 0. Can you have 0 as a numerator? Yes, but you can't have it as a denominator. It doesn't exist. All right, next one. Negative 5 to the 0 power. 1. What's the difference between this one? This one has the negative on the inside, and this one has the negative on the outside. Remember, we learned last week that when the negative is on the outside, you simply just leave it in your answer. Yes? This is negative 5 to the 0 power. This is 5 to the 0 power, and then make it negative. Okay? All right, so your answer would be 1, and then you would bring the negative sign down.
Why is there 2? Never mind.
All right, negative 12 to the negative second power.
It's 144.
Okay, stop. Can you have a negative exponent? No. Where does it have to go? So I'm going to have 1 over negative 12 to the second power. Can my base still be negative? Yes. Now can I go ahead and expand that if I want to? So it would be 1 over 144. Positive because negative times a negative. Okay, guys. Guys, can y'all stop talking? Negative 12 times negative 12.
Oh.
Okay. We good now? All right, let's do the next one. This negative we'll deal with at the end, yes? All right, so same problem. So I'm going to have 1 over negative 12 squared, which is the same thing as 1 over 144. Do y'all agree? And then I'm going to bring this negative down to my final answer. Huh? That's why it came to the bottom. All right, let's turn to the back. Now we're going to look at all of everything that we've learned and apply it to different types of problems. Right up here is where we would write all of our rules, but we really don't need to because they are on your star chart and they are also on that one paper that I gave you. So anytime you need to know a property, you do not have to have them memorized. They are right here. Does everybody understand? Yes or no? All right, here we go. This first one is a product of powers because there are 2 bases of 6. So how would I combine these? Keep the base, add the exponent. So what is negative 4 plus 4?
0.
So I have 6 to the 0, so what's my answer? 1. That's a multiplication sign. I don't know why it's not a dot. All right, this is called power of powers because there's only one base of 4, And the power is being raised to the second power. So what would I do with these? Multiply them. So I have 4 to the negative 4. Is that a good answer? No. I cannot have a negative exponent. So I pull it to the bottom of a fraction. 1 over 4 to the 4th. And could I expand that since it's not super big?
Yes, you can.
Anytime the exponent is not super big, they might expand it on the EOC test. So be understanding that the answer could be 1 over 256. Both of those answers are correct. 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. All right, the next one. Can you have a negative exponent? What if it is on the bottom of a fraction? Then pull it to the top. So I now have 3 to the power of 4. Could I expand that? 3 to the power of 4 is 81. Both of those answers are correct. All right, this next one is 5 to the negative 1 and 5 squared. Do they have the same base? Okay, so they have the same base. So what is the rule we learned yesterday? Quotient of powers. So I subtract the exponent. So I keep the base. Don't worry that one of them is a negative at this moment. Just do what you've been taught. Negative 1 minus 2. Which is what? Negative 1 minus 2 is the same thing as negative 1 plus negative 2. Is that a good answer? So I pull it to the bottom of a fraction. Could I also expand that? 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. So both of those answers are correct. All right, the next one. Do I have two bases that are the same?
Yes.
So what am I going to do with the exponents? What am I going to do? Add. So I have negative 2 to the 5 plus negative 5. All right, so I have negative 2 to the 0. So what's my answer? 1. Do I have two bases that are the same or one being raised to another power? So what am I going to do with these? So 3 to the negative 6. Is that a good answer? No. So I pull it to the bottom of a fraction. 1 over 3 to the 6. And if I wanted to expand it, it's the same thing as 1 over 729. Both of those answers are correct. All right, moving on. I want you to do these top two on your own quickly. All right. Can you have a negative exponent? So since this is already on the bottom, where is it going to go? So it's just going to be 8 squared, which is the same thing as 64. Okay. Can you have a negative exponent? No. Since it's already on top, simply bring it to the bottom. So this is the same thing as 1/64. Both answers would be seen as correct. All right, let's look at the next one. Do you see two bases that are the same? Yes. So what would I do with those exponents since it's a quotient?
Subtract.
I subtract. So I have 7 to the 3 minus 5. And where is x going to stay? On the bottom. What is 7 to the 3 minus 5? So, can I leave that on top or does it have to come to the bottom? So what will I put on top? A
1.
a 1. So 1 over, what is 7 squared?
49.
So 49x. Why would I expand that? Because it's such a small number, there's no need to leave it as an exponent. All right, let's look at the next one. The first thing I have to deal with is the parentheses is all being raised to the third power. That means everything in parentheses must be raised to the third power. So I have 2 to the third power, x to the third power, and what's going to be y? To the negative 15. Are there any similar bases? They're the exact same thing. No. So can I expand 2 to the third? What's 2 times 2 times 2? That's probably better than 2 to the third. So I'm going to have 8 x to the third on top. And what's going to go to the bottom? Y to the 15th. And get rid of the negative sign. Not necessarily, but they will on the EOC. Okay, they will. That's why we want to start kind of looking at it. If it's a really, really big number, they're not going to, but if it's a pretty normal number, they're going to. All right, these next ones look fun. Okay, you're looking at this. This is what they're going to look like on the EOC. Okay, what would be the first thing you have to deal with? The parentheses are being raised to the negative 2 power. So that's the only thing I'm going to deal with right now. So I have 2 to the negative 2 power and x to the negative 2 power. And now I'm just going to write everything else. Y to the 5th over negative 4 x squared y squared. Now I'm going to highlight the things that I can combine. Okay, so a highlighter is going to probably help me. This can go with this. And this can go with this. And eventually, would I be able to simplify those since they're just numbers? Yes. All right, so let's start from left to right. Can I have a negative exponent? So where can I move that? All right, so I'm just going to write it right here. And I'm going to put 2 squared times negative 4. Do y'all understand what I did there? Now I'm going to deal with my x's. All right? So how would I deal with these since it's a quotient? Subtract. Now when I show my work, I always like to put them on top. So it's going to be x to the negative 2 minus 2 and y to the 5 minus 2. Is everybody good so far? All right, what is, I'm going to keep change. What is negative 2 plus negative 2? So is this going to go on top or am I going to move it to the bottom? I'm going to move it to the bottom. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to come right here to show my work. Can I go ahead and combine these? What is 2 squared? What's 4 times negative 4?
16.
Okay, I'm going to say it again. Negative 16. Thank you. And then what did we say was going to happen to the x? It's going to go to the bottom, x to the 4th. And what's 5 minus 2?
3.
So where is it going to go? Y to the 3rd. I want you guys to try the next one on your own.
Yes.
Just try. All right. The first thing I did was I highlighted the bases that are the same of what I can combine. And truly, I'm going to end up combining regular numbers with regular numbers. Now, I can't use the exponent rule on those because the bases are different. Does that make sense? But I can deal with them all together because they're just regular numbers, okay? All right, the next thing I did is I switched these two guys' spot. Why did I do that? This is a negative exponent, so it's got to go to the bottom. And this is a negative exponent on bottom, so it's got to go to the... Okay, so that's the first thing I did. I said 2 to the 4th is going to go here, and 3 to the 3rd is going to go here. And now I'm going to deal with my x's. So I have x to the negative 2 minus what? Minus 1. Then I have y to the negative 5 minus 1. And z is not with anything to be combined, and it's on the bottom, so I'm going to leave it where? I'm going to leave it on the bottom. Okay, now I'm just going to simplify what I just did. What is 2 to the 4th? 16. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. And then I'm going to keep change. What is negative 2 plus negative 1? Negative 3. Okay. And then I have, what's negative 5 plus negative 1? Negative 6. Okay, what is 3 to the 3rd power? 27. And then z. Okay, this is technically a correct answer, but I can't have a negative exponent, so these need to be pulled to the bottom. Okay, can I simplify 16 over 27? I don't think so, right? All right, so here we go. 16 is going to stay 16, and it's going to stay on top all by itself. 27 is going to stay 27, and then I'm going to put these in alphabetical order on the bottom, which would be x to the y to the 6, z. And that's my answer. All right, let's try this next one. What's the first thing I need to deal with? This 3 has to go with everything. So 3 to the 3rd, x to the 6, y to the 6. I'm almost done. Should I expand 3 to the 3rd?
Yes.
Probably. What is 3 to the 3rd? 27. On the EOC, they would do that one. So that's why I just want you to be able to see that it will be done. All right, last one. Y'all want to try it on your own?
Yeah, sure.
All right, y'all try it, and I'm going to work it at the exact same time. All right, so on this assignment, there's 48 questions, so let's do the evens. And there will be 24 questions, so the right side.